Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. The Manga Man here, and today we're talking about Black Clover chapter 301. It's ironic that the last video that I made on chapter 294, I was doing a catch-up video and saying I was going to be more consistent, and then things happened. And I think one of the main things that happened for me was I was being inconsistent because of work and illness and that sort of thing, and then I got hit with a copyright strike, and like I said in my previous video, it literally took the wind out of my sails, and I just didn't want to deal with it. And then I kind of plucked up the courage to actually respond, and then finally they're like, oh, it's fine. Even though there was nothing wrong in the first place, they literally just kind of just took all the energy out. Considering how small of a community I've got anyway, it just... Having said that, I'm back. We'll be doing a video catching up and then a video on chapter 301, which is the most recent release. So, without further ado, let's get into this review. So, chapter 295 to chapter 300 kind of feels like we've been going down a rabbit hole, so to speak, with this battle, and it ends with kind of a ray of hope and a bit of a restart. Now, if you've watched the solo leveling video, this video can get really long. Thankfully, I don't have as many chapters to cover, so hopefully we can get the main points out there. And if I could do more detail, I would. So hopefully, moving forward after chapter 301, when things start to move a bit more normally, we'll get more detail down the line. So let's kind of cover or summarize the chapters bit by bit and kind of cover the main theme. So what really covers the first, like the chapter 295 for me, was literally about Gaja and Noella, because they made the entrance at the end of the last chapter, trying to do their bit. We have a conversation between Noella and the Undine, talking about a new type of magic that is before ultimate magic, and it's revealed to be something called the Saint stage. And this is something Lolo could have done, but she couldn't learn any attack magic because of her nature. She's just, a nice gal, so she didn't learn it. And then she ended up in this position over here. So we get to see the Spirit Dive Saint stage, and the first thing I thought about is this different from the Spirit Dive that already does, or is this something a level beyond the current form that has? And if it is, then hopefully this might be a power up that we'll get when we see his fight with Zenon. So then, essentially we get the Saint stage, and that's pretty much the ending of chapter 295. We then move on to chapter 296, and basically this is where it's interesting. We get told a few key things here. Number one, we get told that there's about 30 seconds in this transformation, which is good, because if ultimately Lolo's kaput after this arc and she's no longer able to be the host for the spirit, or the water spirit, then Noella has something she can work on to become this ultimately more powerful individual. It was stated in the previous chapter that when this whole thing happened with Lolo, she found the next more suitable person, which happened to be Noella because she was closest, and then they start bickering. But that was chapter 295. In chapter 296, what I think was probably most intriguing was the flashback with Asta. Now we get told that Noella's mother Asta was known to be the strongest around, and she was resting in a secluded area, and basically this is when Vanica just became the host. She wasn't as strong as she is now. She went to fight, and she had this big fight. Vanica at one point tries to attack the kids. We see a small Noella and a young Noelle. So it can be assumed that this has probably happened after childbirth, and probably Asta was weaker at this point. What this also does, it kind of adds a little bit of clearing or clearance to the stories that Noella was the reason why that Asia or Nozelle's mother died. It might literally be this. This is proven to be more relevant. So I think in one way you could say it was Noella because she was weakened, but Vanica's weaker then as well, and now Vanica's stronger, and Noella's being comparable. So is this point, this stage where Noella has surpassed her mother? It's a question that hasn't been answered yet, but it's an interesting tidbit regardless. So something to think about. And the fact that they show the children does kind of hint towards it being not far after childbirth with how small Noella is. Now, then moving on to chapter 297. To be honest, this was just the fighting. The fighting was funny to the point where Magicula goes, "Is this friendship?" That face she made, it made me chuckle when I read it. Even when I reread it now, like weeks later, it still makes me laugh when I think about it. And then something weird happens. So, this part was interesting because we get clarification later on, but essentially the real Magicula appears. So Vanica is the host for Magicula. The actual demon, this supreme level demon, appears, and she talks about three powerful, wizards of the same gender being about. So I thought, are they talking about Charlotte, Lolo, and Noelle, or is it Lolo, Noelle, and Vanica, or is it Vanica, Lolo, and Charlotte? It wasn't very clear at that point, but we find out later on that it's something different. And this is kind of where you've kind of gone to the, oh yeah, we've got this new power up, and the arc starts dipping into despair, because basically these next two chapters after this really just is like the lowest of the low. Because Gadja gets slapped up in one of the chapters. He goes down. Charlotte essentially tries to become relevant again. Lil Balmalti is trying to become relevant again. So they all try to do their bits. And then Gadja kind of goes in for the final kill, gives up his energy, and how he wanted to be the most offensive mage. And essentially he wants to kind of give up his life to protect Lolo. But it's not enough, and he's burnt to a crisp. And Lolo's it looks like she's going to get blown up at the end. And then somebody comes in to save the day. The MC. Asta, the main character, has appeared. But what's important to kind of establish right off the bat is as soon as he's done his move, he isn't in union mode. So this is non-union mode Asta, which means that 30 minutes or however long he needs to recover to go into union mode hasn't transpired just yet. And this leads into chapter 301. So, let's move on to 301. So, chapter 301. Chapter 301 builds up nicely over the last couple of chapters, where Charlotte's beginning to power up, and she's inspired to do more, and Lil did his Valhalla technique, but now it's coming to effect. So, we find out in this chapter a few things. Number one, Asta isn't in union mode, and this is confirmed because Ribe or Libe says so, and it says we're no match. So like I said before, the time hasn't transpired. We also find out that he has undone this explosion curse, but she's still got a lot of curses on her that he hasn't undone, and he has probably undone some of the curses in the area. That being said, he's pretty much a non kind of threat now, I guess, because until he gets that back, the only thing he can do is pop in and pop out and just tap a curse here and there. So he isn't going to be as effective as he normally would be. So at this point, what happens? So the chapter kind of re-emphasizes a point that I probably kind of muddled over or kind of missed a little bit over the previous chapter's review. So we got told that there needs to be three women of the same gender. We get this explained in the previous chapter where it's stated that Noella's mother had to die, and now Lolo, the princess for the Heart Kingdom, and Vanica have to both die for her to fully manifest. To manifest. So this form of hers, although she's a supreme devil, is an incomplete form, which gives us a ray of hope for later on down the line, where I'm hoping, Noella is the host of the water spirit, and she does get more control in the saint stage, that they can be comparable to supreme beings in their ultimate forms. Because at the moment we've been fighting with people other than what Asta fought, but the people that have not come through the gates are in an incomplete or not complete or partially strong or not fully strong forms, and that's because they're using another method rather than waiting for the gates to open, because the gates are an insurance in case what they're trying to do to get onto Earth fails. That being the case, the way the chapter ends with her going into Noella going into a final Saint stage ultimately means that she's going deeper into this, and this might be a scenario where potentially we see her going on this consecutive battle, but if this is anything like the previous Saint stage that she just fell out of, it might not be as long. That being said, Vanica is getting saged now. She did just try to kill Lolo and with that curse, but she didn't explode, and she understands the seriousness of the situation, because he does say playtime is over. What that truly means, we don't know. How much power she has shown, we don't know. But the Valhalla kind of technique or spell that Lil has done does augment the abilities of the friends or allies, so to speak. So Charlotte and Noella will be powered up for this fight. What this does for Gaji, who's pretty much burnt to a crisp at this point, I don't know. Will this help heal him? It remains to be seen. At the moment, this kind of takes Lolo out of the battle, so to speak, but that doesn't mean that the control is over, because she's still cursed. But we are told that it's going to be a few minutes, they're going to be practically invincible, so this might extend the final Valkyrie Saint stage form, and let's see what this leads to. But Asta, as he said, has essentially said he's not of any use, and Noella says, "I like you, Asta," but not to him, but it's like an internal thought, because obviously she's Sundari. That being the case, this is kind of where it's going. The battle's going to continue now. For how long this carries on, will coincidentally these 3 minutes be enough for Union Mode Asta to then come out? Is he on 27 minutes waiting to get to 30 and that's it, is good? We don't know. But this is turning out to be quite more than we originally thought, because when they fought Dante, demons came. When they fought him, the actual demon has come. What's going to happen when they fight Zenon? Because that battle hasn't been fully resolved either. We'll have to wait and see. That being the case, I must bid you adieu. This video will come out at some point today on Saturday. It will be scheduled to give enough time for my previous video to get some views. So please check this out, and look forward to the other videos. I will be doing One Piece, and I'm going to try to do a Tower of God and a Hajime no Ippo video if I can, to release over the next couple of days. For next week we could start doing weekly chapters of those. With that being said, now I must bid you adieu. Peace.